Hello and welcome to the Culture Swally, a podcast dedicated to Scottish news and pop culture. My name is Nicky, and I'm joined as always by the man who, if I want to know where he is, he's usually in the bog, smoking two fags at once. It's Greg. How are you today, Greg?
I'm doing alright, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you. I'm all fine. I know you don't smoke anymore, but it was, I thought it was an amusing kind of intro.
I've not had a cigarette for quite a while. I do go through periods, always when I've got a drink. I will sometimes treat myself to a wee 20 deck, but because you can't buy 10s here. I did try the vape for a while. I think we've spoken about it before on the pod, but I find the vape, because it's a bit more socially acceptable, you tend to find that you're just sort of wheezing on it all the time, whereas a cigarette is a very definitive beginning and end. With a vape, you're essentially chain smoking, and
it's very rare that you would have a cigarette and then spark up another one, because although you might feel like you want another one, after about two puffs, you're like, oh, fuck, I don't want this.
Yeah, exactly.
I always remember, it was on your stag do, actually, and it always pops into my mind. Not always, but it does occasionally pop into my mind. We'd obviously, I think it was the second day, so we were all feeling a little bit worse for wear.
Yeah.
The next day.
Not for long.
You especially.
That was a third day, I think. Because
maybe.
Yeah.
Day.
Yeah.
And I remember we were sitting. It was because it was directed towards you. You were feeling really rough, and one of the party, I could probably say his name. It was Malky.
Yeah.
He had a cigarette, and then he just went green. And he turned to you and he went, "You should have a cigarette, Greg, because I'm feeling fucking great after that one."
Yeah. He was actually the sort of main architect of my malaise that day, because we had done a fair bit of drinking on the journey there, because we had got up early. I remember we met at the train station, we'd get the train up to Prestwick, so we're sort of drinking from as early as you can get a drink in Glasgow city centre, pretty much. And then, of course, when we got to Barcelona, we just went to the hotel, quick shower and change, and then we had a night out. And then the next morning, I came down, and I wasn't like dying, but I felt like I'd put a shift in the day before, you know? And Malky was at the bar. Nobody was at the bar. So I thought I need like a little kind of, a bit of something sweet just to kind of give me a bit of a kick in the arse. So I ordered a can of Coke. And Malky appeared just at my back a minute or two later, and he said, "Oh, vodkas and Coke, that's a fucking great idea." And this was at midday, so I remember us spending like an hour, maybe 2 hours in the bar after people arrived, and a lot of people were feeling a bit like they had put a shift in. And then we went for lunch and continued to drink, and then a couple of guys went back to the hotel after lunch, and we didn't see them again the whole day.
Yeah, I remember that.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it was. I can sometimes feel that hangover. That's probably the worst hangover I've ever had, and I'm sure it's because we went to a gentleman's club last thing, like the very, very last place we visited, and there was not many people left, and the cover charge to get in included anything off like this shelf on the gantry, and there was like no bottles I recognised, like no labels, but so I mean, fuck knows, it could have been absolutely anything. And then it turned out that we thought it was a strip club, which it was, but it was also a brothel, which we didn't realise until, I mean, it didn't make us like finish our drinks and leave immediately. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it was. I'm sure I probably drank some fucking terps or God knows what with a bit of lemonade in it or something. That's why I was so ruined the next day.
Yeah, a massive ouzo hangover, probably the next day.
Fucking paint stripper. I went through a bit of a rite of passage last Saturday with my own progeny, my own daughter. I think I was telling you I had to go and collect her. She went to a Halloween party in an indoor theme park here last Saturday, and I had to go and collect her from the clinic because she was absolutely hammered after drinking vodka and slush puppy. Apparently there's some kids that go around and they're selling like water bottles of vodka for like 20 dirhams to other kids.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and she had to push her. The worst thing was, like, she was, and there was a few other contributory factors. One, she had just done this 20-kilometer hike. By her own admission, she hadn't eaten much, and then she's drinking like vodka with slushy. So I think that made it even worse than it would have been anyway. But when I went to get her, she's like nodding out and everything. So I've got to push her in a wheelchair to the car. So I thought that they would let me sort of out the back and I could just push her round the car park to the car. But they made me push her through the fucking really, really busy theme park.
Oh, Jesus.
But the thing is, she's like asleep. Do you know what I mean? She's like completely unconscious, and I'm fucking pushing her through in a wheelchair. Suffice to say that the next day, while she was full of apologies, she had absolutely no ill effects whatsoever, because you don't.
Oh, okay.
Well, you don't when you're 15, do you? You could fucking
that's
get
true.
yourself into some right states and come up smelling the roses the next day. So yeah, bit of a humbling experience going to pick my little baby daughter up, which is fucking absolutely off her nut.
So if she didn't have a massive hangover, she maybe hasn't learnt her lesson, has she? Or do you think she has?
I think, well, look, she's going to do something like that again. Of course she is. We never learned our lessons, did we? So why should she?
That's very true, actually.
But I told her, I said that you can have this one for free, but next time there will be some sanctions. But because the thing is, like, we do let her have a drink, but they can, if there's people that, like, if she's got her mates here and the mates' mums and dads are okay with their kids having a drink, they're fine to have a drink in the house, and same if she goes somewhere else. But I'm not too happy about her fucking, like, being a bit shady about it. But anyway, she knows that, you know.
We've all done it, Greg. We've all done it. So it's
exactly
part of growing up. Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, good stuff. Okay. Right. Shall we have a look at what's been happening in Scotland over the last couple of weeks?
Cue the jingle.
Hello, this is the Outer Hebrides Broadcasting Corporation, and here is what's been going on in the news.
Okay, Greg, so what have you got first this week to tell me and our lovely listeners that you've seen in Scotland?
Well, this isn't something that has happened in Scotland in the last few weeks, but this is something that happened 100 years ago.
Oh, okay.
But it's an article from Glasgow Live, and it's recalling Glasgow's secret drinking dens that caused a scandal in the early 1900s. They were a response to new 10 p.m. drinking laws that came in the early 1900s, dedicated and determined that Glasgow punters took it upon themselves to set up private drinking saloons where they could get on it until the early hours of the morning. So the reason the laws were set up is because, you know, the same stuff that we hear about alcohol even today. You know, it was contributing to societal problems like, crime, poverty, domestic violence. And there were numerous calls in Scotland to place limits on the sale of the demon drink. But things came to a head with the passing of the Licensing Scotland Act 1903, which stipulated that public houses across the land must close their doors at 10 o'clock at the absolute latest. And for the majority of Glasgow's pubs, this meant closing an hour earlier than before. Within weeks of the new laws coming into effect, there was a marked improvement in the number of alcohol-related offences in Glasgow. Police court records showed a drop of 88 cases and 23 drunks compared with the same period a year earlier. The pub landlords said they only suffered very slightly from a financial point of view, and the majority of them admitted that the reduction in hours had proved beneficial from a health perspective. But not everybody was happy with being told when they could and couldn't consume an alcoholic beverage. In July 1904, the Dundee Evening Telegraph reported on the emergence of secret drinking dens in Glasgow, with one club in particular experiencing a rush of customers between the hours of 10 p.m. and 11 p.m. each night. One club owner told the newspaper, "During the past month, our place has done terrific business after 10 o'clock in the evening." Really, there's been quite a rush for the club every night, so much so that members began to object to the numerous friends that were being introduced. The regular members were left without elbow room at the bar and had to wait an unconsciously long time for any refreshment which they ordered. One night, a member brought up 7 friends with him. The 10 o'clock scheme has done the clubs no harm whatsoever, I can assure you. The newspaper reported that another Glasgow club had increased its membership by 100 people since the end of May. Outside of the clubs, there was also evidence that private drinking dens were being organised by many locals. In one part of Glasgow, a group of young men opted to form their own night gathering called the 11 o'clock Brotherhood. One of the men rented a room in a dwelling house as an ordinary boarder or lodger and took it upon himself to order in a week's supply of hard liquor for himself and his friends. The private quarters, some might even call them shebeens, were open every night of the week and would be met with a steady influx of punters after the pubs closed at 10 p.m. The Brotherhood scheme operated semi-legally by ensuring that no money transactions were made for the sale of the alcohol, thus avoiding police raids. Members simply contributed equally to a weekly pot, which was used to purchase the booze for consumption after 10 o'clock. The members assert that they had no desire to run a drinking saloon, reported the Dundee Telegraph. They have simply taken this course as a sort of private protest against what they consider an interference with liberty. And if you believe that, you'll fucking believe anything. The secretary, or managing brother, as they prefer to call him, has had lots of applications for membership, but so far the original crowd have been kept together. How long the Brotherhood will continue to exist is another matter. So we've all been there. We've been in the pub, we're having a lovely time, really nice night, having a good laugh, and then all of a sudden, landlord rings the bell. Time, ladies and gentlemen. Have you ever had a lock-in, Nikki?
Yes. I have, but not kind of... I've known people there, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I have. I had a couple of lock-ins at Revolution before I worked there.
Oh, really?
Because I knew some of the staff there anyway, and ended up there towards the end of the night with staff members, and then the bar had closed, and then the people were like, oh no, it's okay, we stay for drinks afterwards, so stay. I mean, I don't know if that's not technically a lock-in really. I effectively stayed for staff drinks with people, so I don't know if that counts as a lock-in really, so maybe not.
We had lock-ins at Punana when our mutual friend Brett worked there.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. That's the same kind of thing, yeah.
Well, I've definitely left there when the sun's been coming up.
Yeah.
It's a bit more than just staff drinks.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. So yeah, I guess that's kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have, yeah.
The first pub I worked in, mentioned it before, it was in the countryside, in a little village in the northeast of Scotland, countryside, and there used to be a lot of farmers that used to come on a Friday and Saturday night, and they just fucking would never leave, you know what I mean? And they used to all, because I think like previous owners had been quite fond of a dram and enjoyed a lock-in and would usually let them hang back for as long as they wanted, so it was always difficult to get them to go. But I've seen like you just end up just sort of giving in and hope the police don't come, and you know, there's a sort of, if you can't beat them, join them sort of thing, especially when it's not your pub, your license and your booze, you know. Because
what's the laws on that? So if no money changes hands, is it okay? You could say it's just a private party or a private gathering, is that still illegal?
I think you could say that before. I think sort of health and safety and stuff like that. If you have a lock-in and somebody was to injure themselves, and it's like a public, obviously like a pub's a kind of public place, isn't it? It could cause you problems with your license. I think if there's any sort of antisocial behaviour that arises from you having a lock-in, I think that can fuck you up a bit. But yeah, I think better just to sort of stay away. I mean, I think lock-ins are a thing in the past now anyway. I don't think anybody takes a booze as seriously as they did when we were younger.
Well, but I mean, even when we were, younger, it still exists in Aberdeen as well. There's pubs that open at 7 o'clock in the morning
for the night shift.
So effectively, okay, you've got that. If you were out clubbing, you've got that dark period between 3 and 7 where you don't know where you're getting a beer from, but you can still find somewhere, I'm sure. Yeah. You just end up going back to a house party and then
go back out again.
Then heading back to the pub at 7.
Yeah, we've done that a few times. I remember going for, it would be now, I think Stuart Plava, a friend of ours, he was going travelling. Him and his girlfriend Claudia were going travelling, so they had a bit of a leaving party, and they had separate leaving parties. So Claudia went out with all her girlfriends, and Stuart went out with all the boys, and it was like 2 a.m. and we ended up at some random's house, and then we ended up in C&A on Union Street in the morning, having breakfast. And it was one of those ones where my consciousness sort of switched back on in C&A. I mean, I sort of remembered being at the party, and I remembered walking down to C&A and everything, but I wasn't really there. I was sort of like observing, but then I clicked back in again, and I was having a fry.
Can I just clarify? I don't think C&A had a cafe. Do you mean British Home Stores?
British Home Stores must have been, yeah.
That was a classic cafe that they had there, yeah.
So I had a fry up in there, and then we ended up in a bridge bar at like 9 a.m. And it's just, you get to that stage where you're kind of, right, I really need to just go home. But you get a bit of the fear because you're like, well, if I stop drinking, then it's just going to catch up with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like this game over. Like the snake eating the tail.
It's a horrible when the sun's up and I mean, I remember one night I was out with you, our mutual friend, and Prince Charming, or Techno Jock, I guess we could call him.
The artist formerly known as Prince Charming.
Yeah, now known as Techno Jock. And we'd been out and we went back to our mutual friend and yours flat and stayed up for a few hours. And then I think you and a mutual friend went to bed, and it was just me and Techno Jock sat there, and it got to like about 5 o'clock, and we were like, schooner opens in an hour. Fancy a beer? Fuck it. So we meandered down George Street, and then we ended up stopping for 20 minutes at this toilet on George Street because it had these automatic doors, and we just kept jumping in and out pretending we were in Star Trek, and we were just in hysterics. And then we got to the schooner, and then we sat there for a couple of hours just drinking pints and doing poppers in the toilets. And I think that was horrifying, getting the bus home at like 10 a.m. on a Saturday. Going up to Union Street, because at that time Union Street was still, shopping central.
Yeah, so packed.
It was packed, and I was fucking pissed, full of poppers, full of powder, and getting the number 15 bus back to Hazelhead. Like 10 o'clock. Went to bed, and then went for my 6 o'clock start at the Athol. So working behind the bar. Well, feeling great. So yeah.
Well, that
happy days.
That night, the Saturday night that you're talking about, after that, the scourge of the British Transport Police, our mutual friend, and our mutual friend who I shared a flat with, dragged me to the works to see some DJ that I had no interest in seeing, and like zero interest. But you know what like our mutual friend can be like. He sort of browbeats you into doing things that you don't want to do. So I went. I went and had a couple of drinks with them. I wasn't feeling great. Like, I phoned in sick to work that day and everything. I was really worried that somebody from work would see me out. And I think I left about 20 minutes after it actually started. I just slipped away without telling anybody, and went home and just enjoyed like a lovely sort of 3 or 4 hours relaxing on the sofa watching a film until they came fucking rolling in from their night out, and I just went to bed.
Happy days. Happy days.
Good times.
Many years ago.
Exactly, yeah. I'm definitely not match fit for that sort of carry on these days.
No, definitely not.
Anyway, that was my first story. What's your first story for this episode?
My first story is from the Scottish Sun this week, Greg, and the headline reads, Wild Animals. Inside Wild Party Town, Scots can't get enough of, with 80p pints and raunchy clubs. So it kind of ties in with what we've just been speaking about. Scots revellers are jetting off on holiday looking for some all-night partying or flocking to a new destination. Holidaymakers have been known to visit places like Magaluf, Ibiza and Zante for booze-fueled trips like stag do's and hen parties. But now, a different destination is quickly becoming a new favourite with Scots because of its cheap drink and raunchy sex clubs. Scots are now flying to Bulgaria to visit its popular sunny beach area. It used to be known as a sought-after spot for families, but now it is overrun with Scots drunk partygoers. A new E4 show called Emergency on Sunny Beach looks at the party chaos that occurs on the area in a nightly basis. In the 6-part documentary series, local police claim that visitors from Scotland and the UK cause the most problems. The show lays bare the true extent of the trouble visitors cause and looks at what a night in the area looks like. Couples were seen having romps in public streets, while young men stripped naked after having too much to drink in bars and restaurants. They also saw people passed out in the street, whilst a pensioner was staggering around trying to get back to their hotel because they were so drunk. Whilst women strip and go topless on a fairground ride as part of a promotion to get on it for free. On the show, 2 20-year-olds from Edinburgh are filmed covered in cuts and bruises and getting tattoos. Holly, a student, decides to get a tattoo of a butterfly on her tricep, whilst Demi, a caretaker, got the words "smoke weed every day" oh wait, inked across her thigh in Arabic. Demi says on the show, "I can't speak Arabic, but it started a few conversations by the pool. If my family asks, they'll just say it says live, laugh, love." Demi, who was covered in cuts and bruises on her body after giving someone a piggyback whilst intoxicated, she added, "Lesson learned, don't give anyone a piggyback when you're pissed. And don't run when you're doing it, because you'll have to pay a lot of money. Oh, and take out insurance." Others across the UK also star in the show, including a 21-year-old Mason from Essex. I wish he was from Scotland, but hey, we can't have everything here. He told filmmakers, "I'm 21, Essex. So, I'm from Essex. I'm 21, a young buck. I've got a lot of goals, and I'm going to make Sunny Beach my oyster. I want to shag a MILF. And shag loads of foreign birds because I love foreign birds." The town of Bansko is visited by around 100,000 Brits a year due to its 80p pints and bars that sell Viagra jellies. There are also all-you-can-drink nights that cost as little as €30 and hotel rooms that cost the same amount per night. A bar owner also told the documentary that UK partygoers are like wild, filthy animals. The owner of the club said the young British lads are like wild animals. Some people try to have sex in the club. Someone's going to be lucky. That's why we also give away condoms so they can practice safe sex. So, I don't know where to start here. Let's start with getting a "smoke weed every day" tattoo in Arabic. And I love Demi clarified, I don't speak Arabic, but...
They could literally say anything. They could say fucking "Happy Easter" or something. She wouldn't know. Do you know what I mean? She'd have to get somebody who can read Arabic to tell her if it actually says what she thinks it says.
I mean, do you think there's an Arabic translation for Easter, given it is quite a Christian holiday?
Maybe not.
but then is there an Arabic translation for "smoke weed every day"?
So I suspect, it might say like "Glory be to Allah" or something like that in Arabic on her leg. She's got to feel right numpty.
Well, she's just going to tell her family it says "live, laugh, love."
Yeah.
So it's fine. Yeah, because that's a lot better.
How funny would it be if that's what it actually said, though?
And what she says, I started a few conversations by the pool. Yeah. What? People saying, what does that say?
No, people probably saying,
she's like,
people probably saying, that looks sore.
Yeah, because, you get so much instructions. I got a new tattoo last week, and the list of instructions I get from the woman, and she's like, okay, don't go in the sun, don't go in a pool, don't bath for like 2 weeks, just shower lightly.
Keep it dry, blah, blah, blah.
But the amount of idiots that she's obviously got this "smoke weed every day" tattoo on her thigh, and then she's lying in the sun and going into a fucking chlorine-filled pool. Like, that tattoo's not going to turn out well. I'll just say that.
You have to wonder how the conversation went with the tattoo artists. She's like, I want to say "smoke weed every day" in my leg and that, but it can't be in English because my man dad might see it. What do you recommend? The fuck knows, Arabic.
I guarantee she's literally just put that into Google Translate and
Yeah,
see what it is.
Exactly. Fuck.
In fact, that'd be a good follow-up in terms of, obviously, let's put smoke weed every day into Google Translate, see what it says in Arabic, and then if you could ask someone,
just by the,
do you know,
by the neighbours,
to say what does this say, and we can find out exactly what Demi's tattoo actually says.
Yeah. It probably says, "I am smoking marijuana each day." Like, that'll be the literal translation or something. You should smoke marijuana each day.
And what do you think about Mason from Essex? He wants to shag a MILF and shag loads of foreign birds, because I love foreign birds.
I think that Mason, this might be his first time out of the country, perhaps, without his mum and dad.
Would you try a Viagra jelly?
I don't think... I mean, there's an inherent risk there, right? So, like, if you have one for a laugh, you're somewhere on holiday, you're probably going to be wearing shorts, right? Because it'll be warm. You're not going to be going for a night out in a pair of denims. You know, if you have your Viagra jelly, you know, you could be wandering about, they can write numpty all night.
There's something quite ironic about that, because obviously jelly is quite wobbly. But,
exactly.
I wondered if it's a stiff jelly.
Jelly known famously for not holding anything up. You know.
So, is your next holiday destination going to be Sunny Beach in Bulgaria?
Well, I mean, I remember when we were, like you mentioned, my old pal Malky earlier on, when we were planning his stag do, because he got married before I did, his best man said, "Oh, I've been reading about Hungary, about Budapest, and it's like Prague. It's like pints are 60p, and you can get like a steak dinner for like £3 and all this shit, right?" So we were like, "Great, let's go there." It was fucking nothing like that at all. Certainly not in the places that we went. I mean, it was just as expensive, if not more expensive, than a night out in Glasgow at the time. But I remember everybody saying that, the first time I ever heard about Prague, it was somebody tell me that you could get a pint for 30 pence. I should go to Prague and get a pint for like 30 pence and all that. It turns out not to be the case, but I can't imagine that Sunny Beach is going to be charging, would you say it was like 70 pence a pint or something for too much longer?
80p
a
pint, yeah.
I'm sure.
80p. I don't know how much the Viagra jellies are.
I'm sure they'll be putting the prices up weekly, especially now they've been on the telly.
Exactly, yeah. So I might have to watch that and see Demi getting her smoke weed every day tattoo. Good luck to her and our friend who's got the butterfly on her tricep. Okay, Greg, what else have you seen this week?
Okay, so my next story concerns a Swally favourite of ours, Brian Cox. It comes from the Daily Record on the 29th of October. And Brian is talking about how he loves discovering other countries' versions of the Forfar Bridie, famous baked delight from the northeast. The Scot, who has most recently starred as media mogul Logan Roy in hit TV series Succession, also revealed that he yearns for the food from his childhood. Since leaving Scotland to live in both London and the US, Cox said native Scottish foods and celebrations that go with them have become more important to him. The 77-year-old, who provides the foreword for a new cooking book called Scottish Celebrations by Scotland's national chef Gary McLean, said, "For more than 60 years now, I've travelled the world for films, TV and the theatre, and have seen similarities and differences in food around the globe. Every culture has its Forfar Bridie. In Latin America, it's an empanada. In India, it's a samosa. Growing up in Dundee as the youngest of 5 in a less than well-off family, my mother, who was a spinner, was only able to work intermittently following the death of my father when I was 8. But I still remember meals that were real celebrations. Clootie dumplings, Forfar Bridies, haggis, mince and tatties were meals for all. Maybe vegetables and fruit if you had your own garden patch." Fish was caught yourself, as nowhere is that far from a river or the sea. Raspberries and brambles were picked in the wild. Historically, even oysters and lobsters were considered food for the poor. McLean's book, which is published by Black and White, sees the master chef, the professionals champion, share treasured traditions and contemporary recipes from Scotland. In the foreword, Cox writes, "For those of us who have moved elsewhere in the world, our Scottish history has come with us and is keenly felt wherever we end up. We never lose our Scottishness. So with my years living in London, Los Angeles and New York, my love for my native country is renewed in celebrations and with food that simple or rich go with them." So you and I are a lot like Brian Cox in the sense that we've not lived in Scotland for quite a long time. I know that you miss a buttery from Aberdeen. You always you'll stock up on a few when you make a trip back and take them back to Amsterdam. Yep. Anything else that you really miss?
There's a few things. I mean, obviously now I'm vegetarian, so I do miss Scotch pies and haggis. I used to. I mean, you kind of get them quite readily in Dubai, so I was able to eat them. That was before I was vegetarian. I would say it's not so much I miss. Like, there's an expat shop here that I can go to and I can get like tonics, caramel wafers, tea cakes, logs, iron brew, Tennant's, McEwan's Export. That's all kind of the stuff I miss. Like, in terms of what I would say, it's butteries. That's the main thing that I miss, really. Like, you can't get them here. And I have thought about making my own, because there are a few recipes online, but fucking hell, it takes about 4 hours and it's a lot of faff, and then you're just left with all these butteries. But I guess I could freeze them. So I think that's kind of it. Like, I don't know. I can't think of anything else, like, food-wise, that I really, really miss. What about yourself?
I mean, I don't like... When I'm home, there are things that I look forward to having. Right, so some of the things you mentioned. I love a potato scone. Love potato scones either as part of a fry-up ensemble or just in a roll or even just on its own. I can love potato scones. But I don't find the thing is, it makes it a bit more special when I go home to have those things. I think if I was able to have potato scones here all the time, it wouldn't be the same when I went home. You know what I mean? Like, I've never really been that obsessive over anything, like, sort of food-wise, that, you know, and Iron Brew's kind of let me down a bit because they've changed the recipe. So I like having the 1910 recipe. Did you try the one that I gave you a can, didn't I? You've not drank it yet?
Give me a bottle. I still haven't drank it. I've still got it. I've still opened, but it's unopened. But I'm kind of saving it for a special occasion.
Yeah, maybe you can. I know you're moving house soon. Maybe you can christen your new house with it. Maybe. Be a nice thing.
Bottle Iron Brew. I agree with you. I think that's maybe why. Like, if I go to the expat shop, I won't buy cans of Tennant's, mainly because they're about €4 a can. And Heineken's like 90 cents in the supermarket. So have that. But if I'm back in Scotland, you know, the last few times I've been back with you, for example, and I'll only drink Tennant's. And like, solely, unless our mutual friend drags us to Brewdog, because he always does, because obviously
the best chicken wings in the
best
world.
Chicken wings. But yeah, if I'm in a pub, I'll drink Tennant's the whole time I'm there, because it's almost like I miss this. But if I was there, even if I was living in Scotland, I'd still probably drink Tennant's all the time, because it's lovely. So, but yeah, I do find, there are stuff that I look forward to. I might, next time I'm back, although I haven't eaten fish for a while, I might hammer a fish supper or something, just because it's, I do miss that.
Yeah, I mean, I lived in England for a couple of years as an adult, but also as a kid, before, you know, for a few years as a kid, when we lived down there for a while. And so I've lived like in the northwest of England, and I've lived in the Midlands, and I've never had a good chippy in England. Sorry, English listeners, but you know, you like what you like, but I just never had a decent chippy. Whereas here in Dubai, there's like a fish and chips shop, but it's not great. It's not the same. So when I go home, I think I said on the Swally, I think a few episodes ago, when I was at home in the summer, my cousin and I went out one Saturday on a bit of a day, like the sort of days that we were talking about earlier on the Lash, and I went to the Blue Lagoon on Queen Street, and I had a roll and chips, and I can't tell you how much I enjoyed it. Honestly, it was fucking so good. And I was thinking to myself that night, well, it was probably because you were a bit pissed. So a few days later, my daughter and I were in town, and I thought, I'm going to put this theory to the test. So I went and bought another roll and chips in the Blue Lagoon, and it was fucking amazing. And I bought my daughter one as well. She couldn't finish it. So I got like
Wow.
1 1/3 rolls and chips. I will find myself occasionally missing some of the things that, just aren't good for you from home. But, it just, as I say, it just makes it more special when you go back and you can enjoy these things when you're back for a wee holiday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I definitely, whenever I was back previously, like if I went to a pub for lunch, I'd always order like haggis because, ordinarily, I never would. If I was living there, I probably wouldn't have haggis.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? But because I was back, I would order haggis because it was just a novelty to have. But
for sure.
I don't know what I'll do now.
We always have, it's not a Scottish dish, but in the sense that Scotland can't claim it, but we can claim the tradition. Like, we always have steak pie on the 1st of January every year. It's a sort of Scottish way. I think my granny used to serve steak pie after the bells, because that was the tradition. You know what I mean? You would see the bells in and you sit down to your steak pie, but then as you get older, you're never sober enough after the bells to sit down and have a civilised meal. So it's sort of it's sort of moved into kind of New Year's Day meal.
Yeah. Very good.
Yes.
I'm hungry now.
Yeah, I know. I'm pretty hungry for a roll and chips in the Bulligan. All right, that was my next story. What's your next one?
My next story is from the Daily Record this week, Greg, and it is about a pro wrestler who has been slammed for comparing Scottish women to Shrek after starring in a WWE show in Glasgow. So this is professional wrestler Grayson Waller, 33. He was in Glasgow for the WWE show at the Hydro earlier this week, and he posted the controversial comments on Twitter, which is now known as X, alongside a selfie. The snap, which showed him in a dark jacket and black hat, was taken on the corner of St Vincent Street and Buchanan Street in Glasgow city centre. The Australian captioned his post, "Scotland is great." That's not an Australian accent, is it?
No.
Crocodile Dundee, innit? That's not a knife. "Scotland's great. It's dark before 5 p.m, freezing cold, and all the women look and talk like Shrek." Scottish fans were quick to stick up for themselves, their loved ones, and their country. One said, "Meet me in Dundee and say that to my face." While another...
Oh dear.
While another added, "Watch your back."
Watch your back.
Watch your back. A third posted, "Respect our country, but anyway, can say a lot about America." He's Australian. Whilst a fourth said, "Chill out and have an iron brew." A fifth person wrote, "It's basically winter, to be fair, you clown." It's kind of meant to be cold. While a sixth person just added, "You suck, Grayson Waller," when asked for the view on Waller's comments by the Daily Record. A spokesman for the Scottish Feminist Network said, "Who is this Grayson Waller, and why should we care what he thinks?" Waller, whose real name is Matthew Farrelly, is a heel in wrestling, which basically means he's the pantomime villain of the sport, who regularly tries to rile fans with his comments. The latest controversy comes just days after he sparked fury with Taylor Swift fans. He branded her fans, known as Swifties, ugly losers. I take offence to that, Grayson, because I am a Swiftie. So I take fucking offence to that. He also rated her a 6. Oh, come on, she's a 10. When discussing her relationship with NFL player Travis Kelce. He wrote, "Good on Trav. I'm not the sort of guy that would settle for a 6, but each to their own. For me personally, I like a bit of spice. I like a 9 or a 10. I know Austin, it's his tag team partner, Austin Theory. I know Austin does too. We're on the same level. But good for him for settling and trying his best." Some Swifties hit back, with one writing, "Your biggest accomplishment is being a clout chaser, because you know you will never have that, even at the peak of your career. That's why everyone knows John Cena, but you narcissists will never have shame." Waller, who made his WWE debut in 2021, is tipped by many to become one of the brand's biggest stars. I don't think he is, to be honest, because I am a WWE fan. And is sparred with legends such as Edge and John Cena. So there you go, Greg. Do you think that all Scottish women look and sound like Shrek?
Certainly not. Even in Glasgow, that isn't true. But he's obviously he's obviously just leaning into his wrestling persona.
Oh, of course,
you know
he is. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big wrestling fan, and there's he's trying to emulate the greatest heel in the business at the moment is a guy from AEW who's called MJF, and he's never out of character. Like even at signings and stuff, he will tell little kids to fuck off and tell them they're fat and stuff. But it's all kind of it's part of his persona, and they love it because he's being this heel. So yeah, he's just leaning into his kind of heel persona. I'm sure he doesn't genuinely think that.
No.
But I do love the guy saying, "Meet me in Dundee and say it to my face."
It's probably a woman, isn't it?
Probably, yeah. I mean, Grayson Waller, he's like 6'5", built like a brick shithouse, and he's some fucking. I'd love to find out who said that to him.
Some Dundee Bassy. see if I see you doing the volley, you're getting glazed.
Meet me at a Discovery. I'm gonna fucking.
You're claimed.
Ram you on the boat. So that's Grayson Waller criticising Scottish women. But yeah, I'm sure he'll learn his lesson. I mean, I can imagine that if he was wrestling the night after he put the tweets out, I'm sure it probably made for a good bit of sort of atmosphere and a bit of fun in the arena, which is probably what his intention was all along. Old grannies smacking him with her handbag like the days of Big Daddy. Yeah. And giant haystacks.
Wait, that fucking... there's something that really fucking warms my heart when I see old footage of like old British wrestling, and the front row is exclusively old ladies.
It's probably, my granny, my nana loved the wrestling. That's where it came from that I loved it, because every Saturday I'd be round at hers and we'd watch World of Sport. We'd watch Big Daddy and Kendo Nagasaki and Giant Haystacks, and I guess I probably watched Pat Roach. You know, at some point without realising. And yeah, she loved it. She got right into it. Yeah, we love Big Daddy.
Easy.
That's Big Daddy Slam.
Yeah. No, I mean, I used to watch it on a Saturday. I would always be at my gran and papa's on a Saturday, because that was, I would go to my dad's for the weekend. My dad lived there, and we'd watch the wrestling, and then we'd watch Airwolf. So that used to be on a Saturday afternoon, right after the wrestling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes you would get a bit of American wrestling. Sometimes, just, you know, and it was always a lot more extreme than the British. Because remember in the British wrestling, you get like the wrestlers would get a public warning if they punched somebody or something like that. Remember? Yeah. You know, Giant Haystacks is on a public warning. And then you'd watch the American wrestling, it just seemed a lot more sort of unchained, you know, like it seemed like they were really punching each other, and, you know, and it was a lot more athletic, I think is probably the best way to put it, compared to the British wrestling, you know, which was like, you know, Big Daddy, it's this like enormous fat bloke in a leotard. Giant Haystacks, this even more enormous fat bloke in a sort of like Viking outfit.
All they did was just like slam their belly into people, and that was basically it. Yeah. Like that was the whole point of it. So yeah, a little bit more athletic. I mean, fans can get carried away. Have I told this story in the pod before? Maybe I have, but I remember going to a WWE event in Abu Dhabi, and it was like a house show. So it wasn't like a televised event, and it was great. And we were in the second row, and in the front row, right in front of us, was this, I'm going to say he was like Syrian or somebody. He was an Arabic gentleman, and it was still real to him. Right. Like, God damn it. He believed everything. And sat next to him was this British, like, granddad with his, like, 6-year-old son, grandson. And this Syrian guy was just going mental at everything, but he was fine. Yeah, like he was animated, but there was nothing. It was you couldn't have said anything.
Respectfully mental.
Until I think it was the main event. I think it was Dolph Ziggler against John Cena, and John Cena came out, and this gentleman did not like John Cena, and it was almost like a comic, the way you could see him just building up. He was shaking. It was almost like the Ultimate Warrior when he used to run the ropes. Yeah. This guy was just shaking with anger. And as John Cena kind of run past, he just fucking shouts at the top of his voice, "Fuck you, Cena!" And the old guy next to him just turns around and was like, no, that's too far. And immediately he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. He's like, apologise for what he's done. But just and then he kind of sat like for the rest of the show like a bit sheepish because he obviously is like, I've gone too far.
Fucked it.
But yeah, just the way, fuck you, Cena. It's brilliant. Anyway, have you seen anything else this week, Greg?
Just very quickly, may be of interest to some of our more intellectual listeners. I'm sure we do have some out there. But filming is underway in Glasgow for a new Ken Loach movie. The film's called On Falling. It's being made by the production company 16 Films, which is owned by the screenwriter and filmmaker Kenneth Loach, alongside his producer Rebecca O'Brien. Filming for the low-budget movie began last week and took place around the streets of the city centre. It's the latest in a series of films shot in Glasgow by Ken Loach. We have covered 2 of them, Sweet 16 and My Name is Joe. I think that's them all. We haven't done any more on that. We haven't done Aphon Kiss yet, but maybe we'll do it next year. Latest project, On Falling, is written and directed by Portuguese filmmaker Laura Correa, who's based in Edinburgh. Film was expected to continue in Glasgow this week, with some days in Edinburgh before concluding next month. A source told the Sunday Mail, Ken Loach is a directing legend, and anything attached to his production company is expected to be good. Filming for On Falling has already begun, with some scenes shot around Glasgow last week. It's unclear who's starring in the film, but if we know Ken Loach, it's probably going to be people who we don't recognise, because he tends to use either amateur actors or actors that have yet to sort of crack it.
Yeah.
So we'll look forward to that. Oh no, we've done 3 Ken Loaches. We did the Angel Shade as well, didn't we?
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah,
of course we did.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. I did think we'd done another one, but forgot about that. Yeah, of course.
So we have
wonderful.
Very good. So that's it.
Well, yeah, we'll look forward to covering that on the Swally in the future. Yeah, wonderful. All right, okay. Well, before we go on to what we're going to be talking about on the podcast today, let's have a little word from our sponsors. And our sponsor on this episode is Doric Skateboards. Doric Skateboards is a skateboard brand created by Gary Kemp, whose main focus is to explore the people and culture of Aberdeen and the northeast of Scotland, and to create designs that reflect that area. Doric Skateboards screen print their own decks in their studio by Gary's fair hand, and they've produced some amazing designs over the years, including an Annie Lennox inspired board, a Robert the Bruce deck, and a Plenty of Pop deck inspired by the old Bonaccord trucks that used to drive around Aberdeen delivering fizzy drinks. Doric Skateboards also replicate these amazing designs onto their clothing on 100% organic cotton tees, hoodies and sweatshirts, and you can fill your boots on stickers, pin badges, beanies, caps and a whole lot more. Gary regularly collaborates with local artists to ensure he brings the latest designs to the market, but always with a Doric twist, including their amazing new Northfield Tower design. Check out Doric Skateboards for yourself on doricskateboards.com and follow them on Instagram at Doric Skateboards to see the amazing designs that they have on offer. And we are delighted to be able to offer you 15% off as listeners to this podcast. All you need to do is head to doricskateboards.com, have a look at the amazing decks, stickers, badges, hoodies, tees and hats, everything they have on offer, and enter the promo code SWALLY. That's SWALLY, all in block capitals. Same with the name of this podcast, to get your 15% off. That's doricskateboards.com. Okay, Greg, so it was your choice on the Swally this week. So why don't you tell us what we're going to be talking about today?
Well, I've gone for an absolute classic, and it'd been a long time since I've seen this, and I have to say, watching it for the Swally, I really, really, really enjoyed it. I picked the first installment, I guess, of the Slab Boys trilogy, which is called The Slab Boys, by celebrated Scottish writer and artist John Byrne. The version that we watched, because there's a few versions out there, was the 1979 Play for Today production of it that would have been on the BBC back then. It stars Swally favourite Gerald Kelly as Spanky, Billy McCall as Phil, Tom Watson is the gaffer, Willie Curry. Joseph McKenna is Hector. Mark Windsor is Alan. Ida Schuster is Sadie. Jeanette Foggo is Lucille. And John McGlynn is Plucky Jack. So yeah, in the last episode, you mentioned that you weren't sure if you'd watched the Slab Boys before. Had you seen it before?
There was something very familiar about it when I watched it, so I think I may have seen it before, but many, many years ago, probably when I was a kid. I don't know if it had been repeated or something, but it was familiar.
Yeah.
But I guess this was kind of the first time I'd really been watching it and probably paying attention to it. Yeah, loved it. It's wonderful. It's just such a beautiful little play. It's very much a play. Like I love the fact it's just such a close set and it works so well. It makes it feel like a real stage production.
Yeah.
Reminded me a lot of The Steamy in a way, I think, because it's just very dialogue driven.
Yeah.
And it's Glasgow banter, effectively. And because it's a closed set as well. Really enjoyed it. Really liked the cast. Really found it very funny in places. My God, it made me miss Gerard Kelly so much.
He's brilliant. He's so good in it. Well, I mean, they all are.
Yeah, they really are. But yeah, everyone's fantastic. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was written as a play, and in the first production of it was in 1978, and it was at the Travers Theatre, and it was directed by directed by David Heyman, who would have been a young guy himself. The directing it, John Byrne had sent it into the Travers Theatre. I was watching an interview with him, and John Byrne, he's as interesting a sort of character as the play is. I think he was born in Paisley in 1940. He worked as a slab boy, which gave him the inspiration to write the play. But he was a very gifted artist from a very young age, and he ended up going to Glasgow School of Art. So the character of Phil McCann in the Slab Boys is sort of loosely based on John himself, although John was accepted into art school, and of course poor Phil doesn't quite make the grade, as we find out toward the end of the play. But so he's, as well as writing the Slab Boys, he's written Tutti Frutti, which is something that I can't believe we haven't done yet on the pods, but I'm sure we'll get to it next year. He's got some really famous works of art. Like in Glasgow a few years ago, for Billy Connolly's birthday, the council commissioned a number of sort of gable end paintings of Billy Connolly by famous artists, and John Byrne, who's a good friend of Connolly's anyway, he designed his big banana feet boots, and there's a painting and there's a painting of Billy that John did back in the 1970s, which is in the People's Palace in Glasgow, which unfortunately is closed because Glasgow City Council can't afford to keep it open, which is a real shame. But yeah, he's a really, really interesting, eccentric guy. And if any listeners are interested in seeing a bit more of John, there's a fantastic interview with him where Peter Capaldi interviews him that you can watch on on YouTube, and it's a good hour and a half long, and he talks about his life. He's a very warm and funny guy, as you probably expect after watching the Slab Boys.
No, I thought it's brilliant in terms of the cast dynamic. I think the three kind of main guys, you would say, in terms of Hector, Spanky and Phil, it's a wonderful dynamic. You can tell that Phil and Spanky are obviously very much they've been friends for quite a while, and they obviously amuse themselves by taking the piss out of Hector a lot. But you can see that they genuinely care about him. As well. Yeah. And the way they're looking after him and kind of making sure, and when they give him a makeover as such, which doesn't go quite so well, but they do have his best interests at heart, really, although they do like taking the piss out of him.
Yeah, well, we find out more about Hector as the play goes on. He's had problems with his mental health in the past. We find out that he's committed suicide before, and he's the younger.
He's tried to commit suicide.
Yeah, he's tried to commit suicide. Sorry, yeah, he hasn't actually committed suicide, but he's tried. He's attempted suicide before, and so there. And he's 19. But I guess he's supposed to be younger than Phil and Spanky.
No, they're all 19.
Oh, right.
Apparently. Now, I thought you would think that Hector is meant to be younger, but no. According to the play, they're all 19 years old, because even Alan is 19.
Yeah.
So, they're all 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all 19.
Yeah.
Which I find quite amusing, because I presumed exactly as you did that Spanky and Phil were a little bit older than him.
Yeah. So they're the sort of three main guys, although Hector he's not on stage as often as the other two. But then you have Willie Curry, the gaffer, brilliantly played by Tom Watson. He's just great in the part, especially when he goes into his little sort of reverie about being in the jungle in the Second World War and being in the desert. We never quite find out whether it's true or not, if he's telling the truth or not. You've got Jack, who has been a slab boy himself at some point, obviously, but he's kind of got out of the workshop and got himself a desk job. So he's really the kind of brunt of the kind of nastiest kind of joshing and humour from Spanky and Phil. You got Alan, played by Mark Windsor, who is the sort of good boy, comes from a rich family. His dad is a celebrated designer, and he's come for a bit of work experience. You've got the glamorous Lucille, who played by Jeanette Foggo, who her first entrance really made me laugh, because she comes on, she's very elegant, it's a complete hush as the boys all watch her come in, and then the first thing out her mouth is which one you clatty gannets is the Mrs. Walthamstow's lunch. It's this really broad West of Scotland accent.
But one of you clatty gannets has been in at Miss Walkinshaw's lunch pail. Her sardine and chutney sandwich is covered with raw sienna and her oranges went missing. You greedy pig, so you are. You know she's got a caliper. And
then finally, there's Sadie, the tea lady, played by sort of veteran journey lady actress, Scottish actress Ida Schuster. And that's the whole cast, everybody's on. Yeah. And they're all brilliant characters, like brilliantly realised characters, and it's very clear that they're people that John Byrne has known in his life to some extent. I'm sure they're sort of caricatures of people that he's known in some cases, but they're very, very true to life characters, I thought.
I think immediately you're kind of drawn in, especially for me with the language, of immediately the opening part is Hector tuning this radio, and Spanky immediately just calls him a tube.
Yeah.
And then we hear about Phil having the skitters, and it just makes me laugh so much. It's just childish humour, I guess, but just the word skitters will never not be funny.
So what is it Watson says when he comes in later on and Spanky says that Phil's gone back to the toilet again, and Willie's like, "No, they're loose stools."
Yes. And it's just a genius. And again, throughout the whole play, you get Keith and Tolley. It's wonderful. Creepy Breeks. Even Pluky is mentioned a lot, and that's a very Scottish word. But you're immediately just kind of drawn into it, and you're immediately there with the Slab Boys.
Yeah,
and I mean, it's not, okay, we know they work for a carpet or rug company, and they mix the paint.
To mix the paints, yeah.
Mix the colours to give to the designers for the factory. How does that work? Because they don't, like, all this grinding they're doing. I mean, I guess it's just it didn't really make sense to me in terms of what they're actually doing.
They're grinding together the powdered paint to make other, because you've got the primary colours, which have to be mixed and ground together to make, the more exotic colours, I suppose. And essentially that's what they're doing. Do you know what I mean? Like all day, every day. Burns said he based it on, he used to work in Stoddart's in Paisley when he was a slab boy, and he said that Stoddart's there was a few different carpet manufacturers in Glasgow and around Paisley at the time. Probably the most famous one is the Templeton carpet factory in Glasgow Green, which is where the West Brewery is. I'm sure you've had a pint of West lager when you've been in Glasgow before. That's where the brewery is. But what John Byrne was saying, that Stoddart's was the only one where the paints were made in the workshop. He said everybody else was just buying the paints in from like wholesalers.
Okay.
But he said Stoddart's had like 60 designers working in there, so it must have been a big business, a big operation.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me then in terms of that. And then they have to make a lot of gum as well.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the gum's for. I mean, I guess maybe the gum's there to sort of affect the texture of the paint. You know, maybe some paint needs to be thicker than others, depending on what it's used for. I'm assuming. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Don't know.
But then you've got Willie, who's the gaffer, who we find out has been a slab boy. So he's a lot older than Spanky and Hector and Phil and even Jack, but he's a lifer in the business. He's been there since he was a slab boy, and he's risen to the position of, I guess, manager, gaffer, or whatever.
Yeah, you get the impression. I think he's the assistant manager, because as he does say towards the end, like it wasn't his final decision.
Right.
Yeah, he kind of begged, but it wasn't his choice. But yeah, he was a slab boy, and he's very much takes a pride in that room. He does say, this room used to be my pride and joy. And I think he's pissed off at Spanky and Phil taking the piss all the time, because he was very much take pride in his work, and I think it does. It's a wonderful line when he says to Spanky, that colour cabinet is half empty, and Spanky is, well, it was half full this morning. Yeah. And it's just so clever in terms of just...
it's just... I mean, the whole play is just non-stop patter and banter. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the whole way, even in the more serious moments and in the more emotional moments, it's there's the whole sort of subplot about Phil's mum, who is, she's sort of had a nervous breakdown. She's been taken to the mental health hospital, I suppose we have to call it in these more politically correct days. It's certainly not how she's referred to in the play. She's gone for her holidays in the country. Even in those moments, obviously Phil, he's sort of lead character in a way, and his bravado won't allow him to be particularly vulnerable, and he's the one that gets the sort of the most emotional beating, really, in the play, and even toward the end, when as you mentioned before, when Willie says, "Look, I begged to get you a second chance," and you sort of see, really well acted by Billy McCall, you sort of see this sort of surprise, but it's immediately replaced by, again, that ego and bravado and arrogance that just won't allow him. He's obviously got a tough life at home, but he's a really gifted artist as well, and all he wants to do is get out of the workshop and go to Glasgow School of Art and kind of change his life, which is quite a sensitive thing to do, but he won't allow himself to articulate it that way, It's all kind of, No,
as you say, I think, Phil is kind of the central character, because we hear about Hector having previously taken an overdose and was 150 aspirin and drank a bottle of Domestos. Yeah. And obviously we know a lot about Phil's private life and background, but Spanky, we don't know anything really about him.
Yeah.
Nothing at all. He doesn't give anything away.
Yeah.
But you're right, there's a lot of darkness in Phil's storyline, especially about his mum, but it is played with a bit of humour as well. Like, I can't help but laugh when when he says, she put in the cooperative windows last night and ran up the street with her hair on fire.
Yeah.
And even towards the end, because obviously his mum then escapes from the mental institute. But when they say, he gets the note to say that she's been found in the river, and don't worry, the grappling hooks didn't pierce the skin. And you're like, what the fuck happened here?
You thinking off your heat's catching, Spanks?
But you mean like Jack's blokes?
No, I'm serious.
You're mugging?
Aye. They took her away last night. She wasn't all that bad either. No, for her, that is. All she did was put in the cooperative windows and run up the street with her hair on fire.
How long she been for this time?
The usual 6 weeks, probably. First week tied to a rubber mattress, the next 5 wired up to a generator.
Shocking.
No, that's when we get in to see her. when she's undergoing that SSED treatment. Never knew us the last time. Kept crossing herself with Lucasade and asked my father if he was aiming leave. My old man, he's hopeless. He thinks it's like diphtheria or that. The doctors are doing their best, Annie. You'll be home soon. Taking that medicine again. Medicine. An injection of Benzedrine if they fall asleep and a good battering if they don't.
Much bother when they took her away last night.
Nah, they gave her a jag to knock her out so they could sign her in as a voluntary patient.
It's as well, it's when, because Willie has got a genuine concern there.
Yeah.
And when he's talking to him about, toward the end, what's happened to his mum, and he says how she jumped off a car roof through the window, and she didn't have a cut or a scratch on her, and Willie's like, it's must have been a miracle. And he says, no, it was a Ford Prefect.
It's a hugely kind of sad and not controversial, but you know what I mean, like a deep kind of storyline, but it's played for laughs, but not in a, you are concerned obviously for Phil and his mum, but it's just, they can't help but poke a bit of fun at it.
It's that sort of thing that's, I think it's a particularly, I don't even want to say it's a particularly Scottish thing, but it's a particularly working class thing that, like in the time when this was set, life would have been pretty hard for a lot of people in that sort of social class. And I don't know if it's just because we're from Scotland, or if it's just the way that, particularly the west of Scotland, they sort of soften the difficulties of their lives by this real gallows humour. Do you know what I mean? And it can be quite shocking, I think, sometimes to people who aren't necessarily used to it,
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you have to kind of find the humour in things like that, and that's why, you know what, I'm like just same as you, like I think I laugh at a lot of dark things. Yeah. And it's because it's, I guess, a Scottish kind of trait that you have to find kind of the humour out of everything, really. Otherwise, what would you do?
Yeah, I mean, arguably, Billy Connolly has made a hugely successful career as a stand-up by taking that type of humour all over the world. You know what I mean? Just, they sort of, and he says it himself, he's very humble about it. His humour came from working alongside guys in the shipyard, like fucking hard guys with hard jobs and difficult lives that were just brilliantly funny, especially when it came to taking a piss out of each other,
So, I mean, I guess to talk about the cast, like if we deep dive into them, let's start with Gerard Kelly as Spanky. Like I miss him so much. I know we've discussed him before, but he's just been in so much for us, from Scotch and Rye, City Lights, Killer, Bunny and Extras will go down as legendary. Callum Finnegan, the gangster in Brookside as well, which was a random role for Gerard Kelly, like this fucking Scottish hard man. Whereas we all know that Gerard Kelly was just this beautiful camp maestro. So to see him play that was just phenomenal. But he's great in this. I mean, he's great in everything that he does, but he really gets a chance to kind of shine, and he's very, the banter he has with him and Phil, it's a lovely kind of relationship, but you also see a bit of a serious side to him as well. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sensitivity there. He's sort of, Phil's clearly his mucker, you know what I mean? He's and they're always sort of holding on to each other, laughing and falling over, usually at somebody else's expense. But there's a lot of sensitivity to him too, especially when it comes to Hector. He's trying to stop Hector from getting in trouble by hiding him in the cupboard. And when he finds out that Hector's ran away and all he's got on is his simmet. Even to the point where Hector climbs in through, when he pulls Hector in through the window because he's climbed up onto the third floor, and has terrified Lucille. Just as Spanky's trying to ask her out. Yeah, and then when he finds out that Phil's been given his books, and he finds out that, he takes the call from the hospital to say that Phil's mum's escaped. And he can't, you can tell that for all the laughing and joking and kind of fucking around and stuff, he wants to be a good mate to
Phil, hey, buying him his tea and, and everything else. And he even pays for Phil's ticket for the dance to Sadie when she comes up for her 15 shillings.
No, he's a good guy. And as you say, you can tell, him and Phil are good mates. They often do the kind of, it's almost like an English or a posh kind of Edinburgh voice when they are doing little jokes with each other. And as you say, obviously cares about Hector. They speak about getting his clothes sorted and giving him a makeover, and he's hiding him. And he's the one that when he thinks Hector's getting his P45, he starts a mini kind of collection.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
tide him over for a bit. It's his idea. So he is a genuine nice guy, but then, towards the end when they have to do some more, they have to make some more glue or gum, he's kind of knuckling down, whereas Phil obviously is no longer working there, but you see a different side towards the end, and it's almost like a coldness, and I think it's he doesn't want to come to terms with the fact that Phil's no longer there and going to be working there. And it's almost right, if I just put my head down and get on with this and I don't have to think about it, then it's not going to happen in a way, because he does change dramatically, towards the very end. Yeah,
I think as well there's... because he thinks that Hector has lost his job as well. We find out later that actually it's quite the opposite. And, there seems to be as much as he wants to sort of while away the hours of the shift by fucking about and skiving and everything else, it's almost like it's a bit of a kind of wake up to him, because he's like, right, I can't afford to lose this job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I need to just get on with it. It's sort of sobered him, maybe, the events of the day, and then he sees Hector, who's been on the bottom rung of the little sort of hierarchy in the slab room. He's the one who really kind of wins the day, really. He gets promoted, he gets 2 weeks of back pay for his new position. I wonder with Spanky, it's sort of like, right, fuck, my mate's lost his job. They've just seen this wee guy get promoted over the top of me, and I could just as easily lose my job, but equally I could just as easily get a leg up if I do a good job,
Now, just a quick query about this, because we'll come on to Alan shortly, but when Alan comes in, they immediately ask him, how much are you getting paid? And he says £3 a week.
Yeah.
And Spanky says, Christ, that's more than the three of us combined in terms of Hector, Spanky and Phil.
Yeah.
Then when Hector has been promoted to the design room, he says he's on £12 a week.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute, but you're the same age as Alan. Alan's a university graduate. What's Alan doing? He's got an office job, but Hector's got... Hey, fair play, I'm delighted for Hector, but then he's going to be earning 4 times as much as Alan is.
Yeah.
And over 12 times... He's got like a 12 times pay rise, effectively.
Yeah, maybe it's just a little detail that maybe they didn't pay a lot of attention to. Maybe, potentially, I'm not sure. I don't know if like the Slab boys are sort of like apprentices or something, maybe in some shape or form, perhaps, and that's why their wages are so low. I don't know. I know it's a kind of different time, but I'm not too sure. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because obviously, as is alluded to later on, Phil and Spanky, they don't give a fuck, and they're just pissing about. They're actually jealous of anyone that takes an interest. Because I think, as Joe says at one point, that Hector, when he started, he was taking an interest and wanted to look at design magazines, but they took the piss out of him, effectively. And that kind of strikes me. I can relate to that in a way, in terms of the, you actually care about this job, you're wanting to do well. But, they're a pair of bully boys, really, and neither of them take any interest. They're just there to muck around and to smoke
and have a laugh. Yeah. And they every time Sadie comes in with a tea trolley, Spanky always nicks a couple of cakes, every single time.
Yeah, I did like that. It's a nice little note. But yeah, Sadie, what's it? The tea's cold and the bun's foosty. Yeah. I thought it was.
She comes up with she's a great character, Sadie. She comes up with something special for Hector, because Hector, I guess, he looks younger than he is, and he's always polite to her,
Yeah.
you know, whereas the other two just take the piss. So she kind of dotes on Hector because he's, you know.
Which goes a long way, just being nice to people and being polite. It's amazing how far that can take you in life, Greg, isn't it?
You know, the actress Ida Schuster, I was reading about her, who plays Sadie. She only passed away in 2020. She was 101 years old, and unfortunately, it was COVID that she died from. But she's one of those that she's just so familiar. You know what I mean? As an actress, you know, very distinctive voice. And, you know, if you look at IMDb, unsurprisingly, numerous Taggart credits, you know, numerous theatre credits, a few, you know, there's been a few sort of attempts to get a Scottish soap off the ground in the sort of 70s and 80s, things like the Camerons and stuff like that. And she's turned up in there. I think she's even in Take the High Road as well. But she, I mean, she's fantastic in it, and you know, she really knows. You feel like she really knows the woman she's playing. You know what I mean? She really knows. You know, I can remember women like that when I was little, like my granny's friends and stuff. You know, like very old fashioned, hard as a fucking coffin nail. Really appreciate good manners and courtesy and everything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but then also quite forward thinking as well in terms of, and I think that's maybe why it reminded me a little bit of the Steamy. Also, you know, in terms of the speech that she has with Lucille.
Yeah.
And she's effectively saying that she's just trying to save up enough money so she can fucking kick her old man to the curb.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. As she says, that conversation with Lucille's great because she's talking about, you know, he'll come in for his dinner later. If I'm lucky, he'll still have half his wages. And Lucille says, probably his own half. You know? Yeah, it's a really, it's not a very long scene, that scene between her and Lucille, but it's really poignant.
Yeah, definitely. It gives a kind of a different perspective to the play because obviously it's kind of all been fun with the male cast up until then, but I really liked that little scene between the two of them. It just gave like a little different kind of edge and a little different kind of, you know, break to the play. Yeah. I thought it worked really effectively.
There's early on in the play, the boys are making fun of Hector about his uncle who was in the Navy.
Uncle Bertie.
Uncle Bertie. And Phil describes some kind of movement as a swivelling mince.
Yes. I did have down, it's quite homophobic in terms of the way they're discussing Uncle Bertie. Yeah. Obviously, they're trying to get across that Uncle Bertie was in the Navy and maybe was a homosexual at some point. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess it's a bit, I suppose it's probably quite true to life for the time that the play's set like in the late 1950s, but also probably for the late 70s as well. It's probably, you know, quite true to life in that sense. Obviously, that sort of thing wouldn't be acceptable these days. But the thing is, the Slab Boys, they did a production of it in 2013 to celebrate an anniversary. They got David Heyman back to direct it. So it would, you know, I'm sure it was unabridged.
You get the impression that Hector is very proud of his Uncle Bertie, and he's obviously mentioned him quite a few times because when he's telling the story about him, and then Spanky says, "Oh, that's right, his medals are in the press and his clies are up on the wall," and Hector straight away, "No, his medals are on the wall and his clies are in the press."
He used to arrive home for the jigging, 20 sailor boys in his wake.
I had an Uncle Bertie that was in the Navy.
Oh, here we go again. We know, he went down with his boat.
Ship, the Royal Oak. His photos on the mantelpiece. He was only 19.
Hector, nobody mentioned your Uncle Bertie.
He was my mother's only brother.
No, you've got his medals in the press and his clays up on the wall.
It's his clays that are in the press.
For God's sake.
And he died for his country.
Okay, Hector, okay. Look, I was only kidding about the 20 sailors. Honest. It was 40.
You bloody bastard! He's of no regard for nothing now than you have. My uncle was a volunteer, straight onto battleships for the Sea Scouts, and he was wounded twice before he was killed.
Nice wee fairy cake.
Very offended by the notion that his medals would be in the press.
And then when when we meet Alan, there's a real effortlessness in the way that Phil calls him something different every time he sees him.
Yeah.
So he calls him Alma, Alphonse, Alfred, Agnes, Alice, amongst others.
Alan, obviously, when he first appears, he's the new guy being shown around. He's just left university. He's got a job here. He's on £3 a week. He comes across as quite a nice enough character. But as the play goes on, like towards the end, you're like, Alan, you're a fucking dick. He's a real arsehole towards the end. But then is that just because of what they've put him through throughout the whole episode that we've just watched?
Getting his own back. Yeah.
He's had enough.
Because when he finds Phil's portfolio with his drawings and paintings in it, he's really complimentary about them. But then when he gives Phil the news that he's not been successful in getting into the arts school, he's really quite cold and callous about it, to your point, right?
Yeah, he really is. And I think that shows the change in him. I mean, it shows the change. Hector's kind of the same as well. Like towards the end, once he's been given his promotion and when he's leaving, he kind of gives a little speech to Spanky about how, he's expecting more work out of them for in the future. But yeah, Alan kind of struck me as just I don't know, like, because he sticks up for Hector when they're taking the piss out of him and his clothes, and then he does have a go at them, later on, but he does seem a little bit out of, and it's a bit Tim Nice but dim as well, when he's speaking to Lucille about Rebel Without a Clue. And
Harry Dean.
Is it Harry Dean? That's it. Yeah, he does seem a little bit, I don't know, a little bit Tim Nice but dim. I did like when Lucille says to him, make sure you get changed before we go to the dance, because I don't want people to think you're a member of a bowling club. And what I particularly like is when he turns up with his brand new white coat on, and the first thing Phil does is just
he paints his shoulder.
Paints his shoulder.
Nicks his pen.
And he's very upset. This is brand new. It's I did like that.
I just took it to be he's sort of really kind of get his own back a little bit for the day of just getting the kind of piss ripped out of him that he's had by these two. But then with Hector, his is a bit more surprising, because he starts off by saying, look, I owe it all to used to. Yeah. But then he's like, because used to have made me look good, pretty much. Yeah. And he sort of turns it on them.
Is there a bit of, and I read this online, someone had mentioned it, and I thought, okay, is there a bit of sectarianism involved there? Because Phil is obviously a Catholic. There's a specific line, because Alan says, Jesus Christ, and Phil says, you'll go to the bad fire.
Yeah.
Which I thought was wonderful. I guess we're led to believe Spanky is Catholic as well. So we're thinking Alan, Willie Curry, and Hector probably are Protestant. So is there a little bit of sectarianism there that Hector's been promoted ahead of the Catholics?
Well, possibly. I mean, I think that is something that would be quite common back then anyway, you know what I mean? I guess sort of the whole Irish thing and stuff like that. But yeah, I think perhaps there's a bit of a sort of unsaid undercurrent of that. You got Jack as well, haven't you? Who's been promoted, old Plucky Jack, up to desk job upstairs. Yeah, I think probably.
So I guess we've all kind of probably worked in an environment where there's maybe one attractive female that everyone is after, and obviously it's Lucille. I mean, Christ, 4 people ask her to the staff dance.
Yeah,
I haven't really spoken about the staff dance. I mean, that's one of the kind of big premises, that the staff dance is this evening, and a lot of it kind of revolves around that. So yeah, 4 people ask her to the dance, and I did like it's one of her in the first scene that she's in, because they think that Hector has asked her, and Hector's going with her because he buys a double ticket. And I did love her line when Spanky and Phil are asking her, and he goes, who's been giving you that guff? It's a staff dance, no the teddy bear spit.
Yeah, I know. She's a really, really good character, Lucille. Like every time she comes on, because she's you've got these two sort of strong male characters, and then you've got Sadie, who I spoke about already, and Lucille, who's younger, but in her own way just as formidable as any of the other characters, male or female, in the production. Yeah, she doesn't. The only time we see her wobble a wee bit is when she thinks something horrific is climbing in the window and coming out the cupboards, and it's just still it's just poor Hector. But
she keeps coming back to double check in terms of what's happening as well.
But she doesn't take any nonsense off any of them.
No, she doesn't at all. She totally sticks up for them, towards them, and gives them kind of as good as they're going to give her.
Yeah. And I love with Tom Watson, his little sort of solo bit, if you like, when he's when Spanky's kind of working away in the back and he's talking about his wartime experiences and catching up with Vera Lynn's caravan, and it just sort of breaks into song, but he sings it in that sort of west of Scotland thing that again Billy Connolly's made fun of a lot, and that sort of really deep "How we'll meet again," it's so funny, it's like brilliant.
He says she even wore a kilt that night, which made me think, Dame Vera Lynn was a bit of Shangalang. So that's He's so good in this, Tom Watson, because I guess he's supposed to be the sort of nemesis of the Slab Boys, but he's, in a lot of ways he is, but he's also, he sort of nurtures them as well in his way. And the scene with him and Billy McCall, it sort of threatens, because Billy McCall's obviously a lot younger than Tom Watson, and I guess at the time a much less experienced actor. And you sort of, you almost see Billy McCall wobble a wee bit, I think, when he's up against Watson, because Watson is just fucking chewing the scenery in that scene, and it calls for Phil McCann to be emotional but tough and resilient as well. But when Watson's just fucking letting him have it, and when he says, I tried to get you a second chance, that you do see, it's very, very momentarily, but you kind of see Billy McCall, you sort of see a young actor there for a second, but he sort of regains his composure very quickly, and he is fucking fantastic in the scene as well. But Tom Watson is just fucking knocking it out of the park in this every time he comes on. Yeah, it's a tough love that he gives to the guys. But as you say, you can tell he cares. He cares about the slab room because, as I say, he says it's his pride and joy. And you can tell he does kind of care for the guys as well. He's asking about Phil's mum, and he's taken an interest, and obviously
he's got a genuine concern,
promotion,
doesn't he?
Yeah. It's not a kind of a gossip monger asking. He's genuinely concerned for him, and I think it's so fitting and not lovely, but at the end when Phil rips it out of him and is had enough, and then Willie just comes back and drops the bombshell that he asked for a second chance, but it wasn't up to him. You're right, Tom Watson, fantastic. Haven't seen him as good as this since
Govan Ghost Story.
Since he was Govan Ghost Story. He was Big Jock with a creepy wee doll and asking for a chinky. He's really, really good. I mean, and you get the sense with him that Willie understands that as much as these boys drive him up the wall, he's got an obligation to them because he was once one of them, as we've said. And it's just a fucking great character and brilliantly portrayed. And they're still getting the job done, effectively. There's nothing that goes to show they're not doing anything. He does come down, especially after they've had lunch and they're just lying back smoking fags after their salmonella on toast. And he comes down. It's not like he gives them a bollocking. In terms, it's like, oh, right, so you guys are just lying around and Alan's doing all the work here. It's not, he could have gone mental at them, but I think he expects. So as long as they're getting the job done, but, well, I guess, he does
take the radio away, doesn't he?
He does take the radio away, And then obviously Phil gets his jotter, so maybe not the best.
Good street, a bad Jew chaps in Burma. Diarrhea! There were men in my platoon fighting the Japanese with dysentery.
Is that how we managed to beat them, Mr. Carroll?
Less of your cheek, Farrell. A couple of years in the forces might knock some damn sense into your heads. And what have I told you about bringing that contraption in here? Bloody Toms! Whoever belongs to this can ask Mr. Barton for it back. Right, I'll be back in 5 minutes now. Get on with your work.
I was quite surprised. Mark Windsor, who plays Alan, he's only got 3 acting credits, but he seems so familiar.
I know, I saw that as well. I don't know. I mean, because there's a load of Mark Windsors on IMDb. I found him quite quickly because I think he did a couple of plays for Today. But maybe, I don't know, maybe he's just decided that acting wasn't for him and he was going to go off to something else.
Yeah, it just seems strange because I thought, he was pretty good, and it just seems that I've seen him, in quite a few things, but obviously not.
He's got quite a distinctive voice, I think. That's what sort of stuck out to me about him. His voice is very distinctive.
So, do we think that Willie Curry was actually in the army then? Well, I mean, he was, but was he a typist or did he see action?
I'm not sure, because the source of the gossip that he was in the typing pool came from a guy with hammer toes, apparently. And he wasn't able to join the army. So yeah, I'm not sure. I would like to think that it's true, just because I love how invested he is in recalling it. But he talks about being in the desert. So if he was in the desert, he'd have been fighting against the German army. Then he talks about being in the jungle. And if he was in the jungle, he'd been fighting against the Japanese. So
yeah.
I don't know that many British soldiers would have done both arenas, given what I know about the Second World War. But I hope it's true, because I just love his when he goes down memory lane there and talk about Vida Lynn or kilt.
There's a lot of simple jokes as well, but they're just very effective and funny. I particularly like when Hector's hiding in the cupboard and Spanky comes back and he hears Hector's voice and he's looking around. He's, "Oh, you did?" It's the delivery that Gerard Kelly gives that just makes it. It's wonderful.
Yeah,
but no, he's hiding in the cupboard.
And another line I liked when they were talking about the seal, when they're talking about being at school, and it says, all we knew about lassies was that their arms stuck out sideways when they ran." It's so true. When I was at school, apart from the girls who were in the athletics team or whatever, if it was just general PE, the not so athletic girls did run with their elbows out, just as they describe.
Did you know that this was performed on Broadway in 1983?
I did, and I was going to mention this, because it's quite a surprising cast, right?
Yeah, very surprising cast.
So we've got, it's fucking amazing when you think about it. Kevin Bacon, Sean Penn, Val Kilmer, and Jackie Earle Haley, who plays a new Freddy Krueger. He's in the new RoboCop film. Plays Rorschach in Watchmen. Arguably not as successful as the other 3 actors. But I watched, there's a documentary about Val Kilmer on HBO, because famously Val Kilmer he's had throat cancer and he can't speak. Well, he can speak, but it's a sort of croaky, rumbly sort of noise. He's lost his voice. And in the documentary, so Val Kilmer, ever since he was a kid, has sort of video recorded huge parts of his life. And when he was back, he plays Alan in the Slab Boys, and there's footage in that documentary of him backstage. So, and you can hear the play being performed through the speakers. He's backstage because his character's not in the scenes that are being performed. But it's really interesting because you can hear the dialogue in the background from the speakers, and they're doing it in Scottish accents. You can't hear.
Oh, really?
You can't hear it that clearly. So I couldn't say whether Bacon, Penn, or those guys have got good Scottish accents, but you can hear it coming from the speakers. It's quite an interesting documentary. That documentary about Val Kilmer. It's definitely worth a watch.
I'm surprised he did it in Scottish accents, but then I guess it doesn't work otherwise. You can't really imagine going, "Yeah, he's got the skitters."
Yeah,
it doesn't really have the same ring to it. All right, creepy breeks, you're just a totally. What a load of keek.
Yeah. Buggeration.
He's just a creepy shite bag. It doesn't have the same ring to it in effect, does it?
No, unfortunately not.
Sadie, you're just an old midden.
I'll get one of my boys down here to What she say? I can't remember saying what she says. She says she's going to get one of her sons down to give Phil a doing.
This tea is cold and this bap is foosty. Right, that's it. I'm not doing any more.
No, the loose stools.
I'll be in the bar smoking 2 fags at the same time.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, I'm a bit scared to... I'm sort of half interested, half frightened to see. I might have to look on YouTube and see if there's any footage of an American production of the Slab Boys.
Yeah, I'd be quite interested to see that, actually. I mean, it was remade in a film in 1997, but I haven't watched it. But I don't know if that focuses on the whole trilogy rather than just the first one.
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, the second part of the trilogy is called Cutting a Rug, and it's sort of immediately after the events of the Slab Boys, and it's the dance, and all the characters are there, plus a few new ones. The kind of often mentioned Miss Walkinshaw is actually in.
Yes.
She's actually in there, and a couple of other ones. And then the last one is called Still Life, which is set a long time after. It's set the sort of 1967, 5 years after the events of the Slab Boys, and we catch up with the characters. I've not looked yet. I need to see if they've ever filmed either of the next 2 installments, and if they have, maybe we could do them on a future episode. But I think with John Byrne, I think when you hear him talking about the play, I think he really likes the characters. You know what I mean? You know, he's because as mentioned before, they're probably based in a sense on a lot of people that he's known in his life, especially when he worked in Stoddarts, and he kind of and which is why he's enjoyed updating us on what's happened afterwards. But I mean, the Slab Boys it's a real classic of Scottish theatre, and it surprises me that it made the transition to Broadway, because it's not only is it very Scottish, but it's very, very west of Scotland as well. The patter which we've been laughing about all the way through the episode, it's relentless. You know what I mean? It's absolutely relentless, and and a lot of it is it's very Scottish, but parts of it are very, very west of Scotland as well. You know, what New York audience is made of it, I've got no idea.
All right then, Palookie chaps. Let's...
The last time I saw clays like that, they were on a garden gnome.
Oh dear, never mind. Oh, well.
So, shall we put Slab Boys through our Swally Awards?
Let's do it, Greg. I mean, there's a couple of awards that obviously we won't be able to give, but let's have a look and see what we can find. So, okay, what have we got first?
So, there's no pub in it because it's a play. It's all set in the one location. The pubs are alluded to. The next one then is the James Cosmo Award for being in everything Scottish.
I went with Tom Watson.
I went with Tom Watson. I think there's also a case for Gerald Kelly as well, and there's also a case. There's also a strong case for Ida Schuster at a certain time. I think Cosmo might be the sort of modern Schuster, perhaps. And then the next one then is the Jake McQuillan Your Tease Out Award. There's a lot of almost, especially when Spanky has to restrain Phil a couple of times when I think Hector says something about Phil's mum, but nobody really gets a done. Well, Hector gets his ear cut off the screen, but
no, Sadie smacks Phil a couple of times after he calls her an old midden.
Yeah, right, she does. She does, yeah.
She gives him a couple of leatherings over the back of the head. Yeah. Because the only thing I was like, there's not going to be a tease. Because the only thing I had was, there's at one point Phil shoves Plookie Jack out the way, and I was like, that's all I've got.
Yeah.
But then, no, Sadie comes and just gives him a couple of leatherings on the back of the head.
With a big ring. Yeah, because he's like, like your ring. And then the Francis Begbie Award for gratuitous swearing. I mean, there's no gratuitous swearing, but there's a lot of sort of third-tier shites and bastards and stuff.
There's a couple of bastards and stuff, but the one that made me laugh the most was when Spanky is speaking to Phil about Alan, and he says he's just a creepy shite back. There's no harm in him.
Yeah. Obviously... There's no gratuitous nudity. The closest,
No, thankfully not.
The closest we get is Hector charging about in his summit. So the next thing is the sort of archetypal Scottish moment. Now, the play could almost be, the whole play is almost like an archetypal Scottish moment in a way.
Yeah, because I did, I kind of struggled with this because there's not anything in particular. So I went with just the use of language, particularly keich, tolly, skitters, tube, creepy breeks, and plukie.
Yeah, I've just written down patter. It's same thing.
It's exactly the same thing,
Yeah. And then lastly then, the Big Tam Award, who wins the play for you?
Billy McCall.
Yeah.
This film. Yeah, I would have liked to have given it to Gerard Kelly just because obviously I'm a little bit biased, but I think that Billy McCall's performance has a little bit more range and it's effectively his play, really. It's Phil's story, so yeah, I gave it to Billy McCall. Yeah. What about yourself?
Well, I give it to John Byrne because I think it's just, you know, I mean, it's one of the first things he ever wrote. I think it's just so brilliantly realised. Yeah. And with such true to life characters and stuff, I gave it to him. I've been like watching a lot about him over the last couple of days, and I just find him really fascinating. Do you know what I mean? He was married to Tilda Swinton for quite a long time. She's in Your Cheating Heart. You know, the sort of follow up to Tutti Frutti. I just find him a really interesting guy. Like the conversation with him and Peter Capaldi is just a joy to watch. He's very sort of self-reverential and stuff like that, and you know, just like that sort of really dry wit, very funny guy, you know. So anyway,
it's very good. Yeah.
So that was the Slab Boys, which was my choice. We're into November. When this comes out, it will be sort of the third week in November, which means it's your choice as we push into December. So what are we going to be watching for the next episode?
Well, no, Greg, because it's a 3-episode month in November. So the next episode will actually be released on the 30th of November.
Right, okay.
Which is, of course, St. Andrew's Day.
Indeed.
Now, there's not really any films or anything about St. Andrew, the patron saint of Scotland, so I thought we'd look at something which features the patron saint of the Swally, our Lord and Saviour, Mr. James Cosmo. And he doesn't have a big starring role, but he's in it, so it counts. So I would like us to look at, I guess, another patron saint of Scotland, Robert the Bruce, as we look at the 2018 film Outlaw King.
Brilliant. I look forward to watching that. I have seen it before, but I did enjoy it. So yeah, I look forward to talking to you. Talking to you about that in the next episode.
Yeah, well, we'll cover that in the next episode of The Swally. I've never seen it. I haven't seen it at all, so I'll look forward. I don't know why I didn't watch it. I guess because it's not really my... Yeah, you know why. It's not my wheelhouse, is it? It's kind of... I like Braveheart, I like Rob Roy, so I'll probably like Outlaw King. We will see. Anyway. All right, well, thank you very much for listening, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can. You can email us on cultureswally@gmail.com if you've seen any news stories you'd like us to cover, or if you've got anything you would like us to cover on the podcast. You can also follow us on the socials. We're on Insta at cultureswallypod, and we're on X, formerly known as Twitter, at SwallyPod. And Greg, we have a wonderful website as well, don't we?
Yep, you can find us at cultureswally.com for some articles about Scottish media, links to other socials, and links to all the episodes. And I updated it the other day, so there really is links to all the episodes now. I hadn't done it for a couple of months, but I spent a bit of time on it the other day, so it's all up to date.
Have you been lying to us for the last couple of months, Greg? We believed you when you said it's got all links to all the episodes.
Yeah. Well, it does have links to all the episodes, sure. But it just doesn't... All the episodes weren't reflected on the website, I guess is probably the better way of putting it.
Okay, no problem at all. All right, wonderful. Right, well, I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm off to go and watch Aberdeen against Hibs in the League Cup semi-final, and that will determine if I'm going to go back to Scotland in December for the final. So we'll see.
Well, I'll be rooting for you. For Aberdeen. I'll leave it up to you whether you go back to Scotland or not. I'm sure you'll make that. I'm sure you'll make the right decision.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, until next time.
Till next time.
We'll meet again. Don't know where.
Don't not. Do you know the Vera Lynn's caravan caught up with us at one time? Tommy Christer's Rialto Kinema Alexandria, 10 minutes from the tram depot. Yes, a lovely girl. We were all there that night. 1,500 Highland Fusiliers waving our pashes in the dark and shouting, "We'll give the buggers what for, Vera!" A lovely girl. She wore the kilt that night.